What's going on, YouTube? It's Zach from the Rolling Times. I've been super busy lately, so I haven't had a chance to really upload any videos. H2O was a blast. If you guys haven't seen my teaser video of H2O, go check it out. Hopefully I can get the full video done sometime before next H2O, but at this rate, who knows? I'm just trying to get a car on the road at this point. My last video before the H2O video, we were doing the OBD2 swap in the Corrado. I did get it running. It actually ran very well. Not too many electrical issues or anything, so it went pretty smooth. And then I went ahead and tried to get the turbo kit on it before H2O. I did get the turbo kit on it. We got it running. It was running like 10, 12 pounds of boost at first, which is a little high. I got it down to like 8 PSI. Long story short, I blew the rings out of it. So the Corrado is broken again. It's sitting outside right now. There it is. But this is just going to be a quick video to update you guys on what's going on in my life and why I haven't been able to finish. Actually, I have a lot of film from the VRT build that I didn't get to turn into anything yet. But what is slowing me down, since the Corrado blew rings, I could not take it down to H2O, so last minute I had to change it up and take my Passat wagon. Well, if you guys notice, my Passat wagon is not here, because about an hour into the trip down to H2O, some of you guys may know, I don't know if the torque converter cracked or what happened, but it started leaking fluid everywhere. It actually locked up on me in the left lane in the highway. I'm freaking out because it's like around a bend, and we're in the left lane. I got my four-ways on and I can't do anything. So I popped the hood. I'm like, why the hell does this thing freaking shut off? I'm looking at it. I couldn't find anything. Get back in the car, tried to crank it, wouldn't crank, wouldn't crank, wouldn't crank. And I was just about to give up. I went from neutral to park. I tried cranking it again. And it went, blah, 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 and it started up. So it started up. I freaking hauled ass out of there because I did not want to be stuck on the highway. And I look behind me and there's this big giant cloud of smoke behind me. Like, all the cars are staying way back. So I pull off, we go in the parking lot, and I discover it's leaking oil. It was like a brown, dirty brown oil. So I'm like, okay, maybe the rear main seal went. So I just was checking the oil and stuff. And it didn't lose that much oil while I was down at H2O. Granted, I babied it and I babied it home. But by the time I got home, the transmission really started slipping. So that's when I knew the brown dirty oil was just dirty trans fluid and the trans was leaking. So anyway, now that I bored you guys all to death with the story of the Passat wagon, I started looking around to see if I could get rid of it, trade it for something. I didn't really want to drop an automatic trans and do all that work for an automatic trans because I hate automatics anyway. So I found this beauty right here. See if I can flip the camera. It is a 1990 something Mk3 TDI Jetta with all the weight reduction in the world. Has no rockers left. The towers are actually pretty solid. The floors aren't too bad. I did just replace the gas door. Look at this fancy weld here. I only caught the car on fire once during that whole experience there. But I did trade the Passat wagon for this TDI. Now, I was told this thing just had some brake issues and it needed inspected, and obviously the rust. But I was kind of in a predicament. I drove the car up to the guy, and I knew my Passat wagon wasn't going to come home. So I kind of rushed into this. I kind of drove the Passat wagon up there, taking a gamble, because I was like, well, whatever this freaking Jetta looks like, I'm going to have to take it, because I knew if I drove the Passat an hour, it was not making an hour drive back home. And you can't just top off the trans fluid on those with like the dipstick tube, because they don't have one. You have to jack up the car and pump in the trans fluid from underneath. So, I mean, I was very honest with the guy, straightforward. I told him all the issues with this. I don't know if he knew all the issues with this Jetta, but it has a lot more issues than what he said. I drove it around for about a week. It did knock kind of loud, which my other TDI did, so I wasn't too concerned about it. And then it blew some coolant hoses. I fixed those. It kept overheating. So I look at the reservoir, and as it's idling, it's just bubble, 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 bubble. And I was like, okay, so it needs a head gasket. And he's like, I don't really feel like doing a head gasket, but I'd rather do the head gasket than that automatic trans, because at the end of the day, this is still a 5-speed TDI, good fuel mileage. I think it's more fun than the Passat wagon was. So I get the freaking Jetta home after work, 2 days ago, Monday. And Monday evening I started tearing into the head gasket. I got the head off. It wasn't too bad. I think the hardest part for me is probably going to be making sure I get the timing belt right, because I don't have the tools, and I should probably just get the tools. So I pulled the head off. I looked at the head gasket, and it definitely was leaking. There was water in the oil and everything. I'm thinking I'll probably do an EGR delete. But I get the head off, and I take it to the machine shop to get it resurfaced. And when I asked him if it was done, the text I received back was the motor you took this head off junk? Because it looked like cylinder 1 piston was hitting the head a lot. So yeah. So today after work, instead of starting to put this turd back together, I spent my time dropping the oil pan. In the oil pan, I found a big chunk of plastic that's half melted. The oil looked like water and crap and creek water and some oil. And the pickup tube, which I don't feel like crawling under to show you guys, had melted plastic stuck in it. Now the oil pressure light only came on once for me while I was driving this thing. I shut it off, started back up, and it was fine. So I don't think it was starved for oil that much, but something happened enough that this piston from cylinder number 1 got messed up. Being as I'm kind of broke and I got this car to save money and daily it, not to freaking dump a bunch of money into it, because I really want to get my BMW fixed. I think that's next. We're probably going to drop a 302 in this guy. I know I've been telling you guys that. I know it's just been sitting here getting more leaves and sticks dropped on it and hasn't moved, and I haven't touched it. But like I said, I'm busy with this turd. So I'm going to end up, hopefully, I'm going to take this over to the machine shop guy and see what he says about it. I didn't really feel any play in the top half of the piston. The bearing looks a little chewed up, but it's still there. And the crank looks fine. So I'm hoping I can get away with slapping some rod bearings in this thing, holding out the cylinders. Maybe I'll put some fresh rings in. I'll ask Jason over at the machine shop what he thinks about these and what he suggests that way. The car did come with a brand new turbo, so I'm going to change out the turbo. I have all this stuff apart. It just makes sense to. It's right there. I want to delete the EGR. I think I said that. But hopefully, I'm going to have to spend a couple $100 to get this thing back together, but hopefully I can get it back together and it runs good for a long time. It is a TDI. It doesn't know how many miles it has on it because it's exempt from mileage and somebody changed the cluster. There are a few other kinks I have to work out with it. The temp gauge doesn't work. The fans are on a freaking wire, so that's a pain in the ass. I did put my GLX leathers in it from the GLX that I cut up. We'll see. I'd like to lower it and get some wheels since these tires are shot. But other than that, maybe an exhaust. I don't really want to mess with this thing. I just want to get it running and drive it and not break it so I can fix my other cars that I like to break. As always, thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you think. I will update you guys on this thing, whether it runs, clunks, doesn't run, whatever the hell happens with it. I will hopefully have it back together this week or next week, and then I can start working on my other stuff, like my videos from the VRT build. Corrado is probably going to sit for a while. I have the original engine sitting back there still. Maybe over the winter I can get some parts for that and build it, and then springtime I can just drop a good engine in there. I already have all the turbo stuff figured out. I would like to clean up some of the wiring for the fuel pump and the meth kit and stuff, and just make stuff a little bit prettier, because right now it's just zip tied to the knee bar. But I was in a rush to get it running. Obviously I was in too much of a rush because it's broken. But if you guys are interested in how my TDI rebuild comes along, my freaking let's slap some shit together rebuild, please stay tuned, subscribe for the next video. And sorry I can't bring you guys better content and more content, but I'm just at this point trying to get a car on the road for more than a week.
I want to